7.5, using percent equations. So you're going to have the exact same kind of problems as yesterday, but we are not using the proportion. You may not use the proportion today. I want you to learn both ways, and then you can determine on your own later which way that you feel the most comfortable with and use it when you have to do percent equations or problems. But today you have to use this method. The first 4 rules tell you how these problems work and what you do when you translate the problems into equations. So anytime you see the word of, it automatically means times. A lot of times in these problems you're better off using parentheses because you're going to have decimals in the problem more than likely. So you might want to go ahead and use parentheses as times. Is means equal. When you see the word what or find, it means that's the unknown. That's where you're going to put a variable, and you usually use n, but you can use any variable you want. If you're given the percent, you have to change the percent to a decimal. You move the decimal 2 places to the left. If you're solving for the percent, then at the end of the problem, you change that decimal to a percent by moving the decimal 2 places to the right. So if you're given the percent, you take the percent and change it to a decimal by moving the decimal 2 places to the left. If you're told to find the percent, then you change at the end. Okay, change at the answer by moving the decimal 2 places to the right. Okay, so that it could go either way. But in these problems, when you're working with them, you'll be using the decimal value of a percentage. So just really quick, if you had 15%, what is that equivalent to as a decimal? 15% would be what, Dakota? 0.15. Okay, so you move the decimal over 2 places. All right, so we're going to take these problems, translate them into equations. Let's look at some of them. All right, I think this is all the examples that we have. I tried to include one of every type of question we might get. So does anybody want to work on this first example? All right, Trayton, it says 19 is what percent of 25? So what do I start with? 19 is equals. What percent would be n? Of would be times 25. So 19 equals n times 25. And how would we solve that, Trayton, for n? Divide both sides by 25. So this is what you'll show me while you're doing this. And this is where your calculator comes in, and you would actually do 19 divided by 25. Did you get it? No, the other way. 19 divided by 25, not 25 divided by 19. So it comes out to 0.76, and since it says what percent, that means you have to answer this as a percentage, and this is one of those that you'll move the decimal over at the end. So Trayton, what would it be? 76%. Yep, 2 places over, you'd say 76%. Questions about that? Let's work on the one over here on the right. Who would like to try this one? What is 38% of 22? Somebody that hasn't gotten a ticket yet. We're going to spread the wealth today. Who we got? Shane. Okay, so for what n is equals 38%. Okay, what about the 38%? How should I write it?
Oh, 0.38.
Good. 0.38 times, because the of is times, and 22. Now this is one where if you look at the problem, It's telling you that n is those two numbers multiplied together. So honestly, all you do is multiply those two numbers together. So what'd you get? If you take 0.38 times 22, 8.36. If it tells you to round to the nearest tenth, then you would make that what? 8 what's the 6 tell you to do? 8.4. Alrighty, very good. Okay, 84 is 16% of what number? So we need somebody new to help try to do this one. Who wants to do this one? Steven? So what do I write?
84 equals 0.16 times n.
Right. So is equals 16% as 0.16. Of is times. What number is n? So I wrote 0.16 times n. Okay, Stephen, how can I solve for n?
You would divide by 0.16.
Right. Divide both sides by 0.16. So 84 divided by 0.16. Okay. 525. Is that percent or not percent? There's only one percentage in every problem. Did they already give us one? Yes. So since there's already a percentage in the problem, the 16%, 525 is your answer. It's just that number, 525. 84 is 16% of 525. That's what that's saying. Okay, so now we're going to try to do a little bit of a word problem here. It says boots cost $79.99. And I'm lucky I've got a 20% off coupon. That's awesome. I get to take 20% off. How much will they cost? Okay, so I've shown this in enrichment. And this is what I actually do when I'm shopping. I don't want to concentrate on the 20% off. I want to think about how much I'm paying. So if I have a 20% off coupon, what percent, Braxton, am I paying for those boots?
20%.
No, if I have 20% off,
80.
then I have 80% left. Yeah, you can just think this, but I'm going to write it down. The boots are 100%, but if I take 20% off, I'm only paying 80%. So what I really want to know is what is 80% of $79.99. So Braxton, how would I do that problem?
It would take $79.99 times 0.80.
Right. 0.80 of means times 79.99. So if I do 0.80 times 79.99, I get 63.992. So Braxton, we need this in money. So what would make sense to write an answer for 63.992, and we're talking about money and the final cost of those boots?
The 2 tells you to round down, so you keep it at 9.
Okay, so I would write what?
$63.99.
$63.99 would be the cost of those boots. Questions about why we did the 20% off that way? I take the percentage that's off away from 100 so I know what percentage I'm actually paying, and then figure it out from there. Usually you can take that percentage off from 100 pretty easily in your head, and then just go do the multiplication problem. All right, one more thing. Another common thing that you do when you're an adult, when you go out to eat, you leave a tip for your waitress. okay? And, huh?
What if it's a dude?
Or waiter, your waiter or waitress. And the nice, probably etiquette tip is 15%. Usually, you know, if it's somebody that does a really, really good job, sometimes you go as high as 20%. I know a lot of restaurants that are maybe a little fancier. At the bottom of the check, it'll say, this is how much you leave if you want to leave 15%. This is how much you leave if you want to leave 18%. Or this is how much you leave if you want to leave 20%. So the standard's kind of 15%. So we're eating at the reservation. And the bill is $30.28. Okay, I'm going to show you a little different way on this one too. Okay, we're going to pay 100% of that bill, aren't we? You got to pay 100% of it. Plus, we want to leave that waitress a 15% tip. So plus 15% more. So what percent am I really going to pay to leave before I leave there, Layla? Yeah, I'm going to really pay 115% when it's all said and done. So what I really want to know is, what is 115% of $30.28? So what would I write to get that accomplished? How would I write that math problem, Layla? Okay, let's talk about the changing the decimal. So to change the percent to a decimal, how many places do we move the decimal? 2, so it should be, right, 1.15 times 30.28. So when I get 1.15 times 30.28, I get 34.822. So Layla, what makes sense to say that I'm actually leaving for this? Yeah, how much money are you really leaving? No, this is actually the amount. We just need to write it nice and neat in money and cents. $34.82. Okay, so the reason why we do it this way is I think it goes a little bit quicker. You don't have to go back and do that addition at the end. When you say you're paying 100% of the bill plus 15% for the tip, that's already taken care of adding in the tip at the end. So you're doing 115% of the bill, and that includes the waitress's tip. So $34.82 would be how much we pay to leave the restaurant, get everything taken care of.